The name of Carlos Alcaraz has become synonymous with pure talent since he burst into the tennis elite with titles at Roland Garros and Wimbledon, a silver medal at the Paris Olympic Games, and, at times, the aura of an unbeatable player. But the year 2024 and the start of 2025 have put a brake on the meteoric rise of the Mercian, who now faces doubts about his physical condition, mental toughness, and ability to sustain high expectations. The recent loss to Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open 2025 was just the latest chapter in an irregular season. Although the result should not be a cause for alarm, falling to a legend like the Serb is something that has happened to many of the best. The manner of the defeat has reopened a debate about his performance and the reasons behind his apparent slump. A year of stagnation, injuries and mental doubts. The warning signs in Alcaraz's game are not new. Back in August 2024, after losing in the second round of the US Open to a player ranked 74th in the rankings, Alcaraz himself admitted that he had regressed mentally. Instead of taking steps forward, I feel like I've taken steps back. And I don't understand why, he reflected at the time. The doubts extended into November, when his debut at the ATP Finals was an absolute shipwreck. He lost to Casper Ruud and, worse, his body did not respond. The stomach issues, the tight schedule, and accumulated fatigue have taken their toll, he admitted after canceling a training session. These statements show that beyond the tactical aspects, there is a combination of factors keeping him far from his best version. Playing style and Djokovic's shadow. A key aspect mentioned after his defeat in Australia is his lack of tactical structure in important matches. According to analyst Jim Courier, Alcaraz's best day is the best in the circuit, but his worst day is a level below players like Djokovic or Jannik Sinner. This was evident in the clash with the Serb. After winning the first set and holding both a physical and psychological advantage, Djokovic requested medical attention for muscle discomfort. The Mercian failed to manage the momentum and let the opportunity to finish off a weakened opponent slip away. The Serb, at 37 years old and with a body nearing the twilight of his career, remains the man to beat in big events. Djokovic showed that even far from his best version, his ability to read matches, adjust his strategy, and play mind games with his opponent remains unmatched. Alcaraz, for his part, seemed disoriented. The truth is that, as several tennis experts already point out, it's unclear who should be more thankful to God, Nadal, because Djokovic wasn't born a decade earlier, or Alcaraz, because he wasn't born a decade later. Fatigue or pressure? The grueling schedule of professional tennis has been another factor cited by Alcaraz and many of his peers. All players are mentally exhausted, he commented last November. The accumulation of tournaments, the constant change of surfaces, and the physical demands of his playing style, based on explosiveness and changes of pace, have taken their toll at just 21 years old. Added to this is the weight of expectations. Since his breakout, he has been talked about as the natural successor to Nadal and Djokovic. And while the comparisons are inevitable, they are also unfair. Both Nadal and Djokovic went through their own learning curves before achieving the consistency that defines their careers. If one thing is clear, it's that Carlos Alcaraz is not going through a definitive crisis but rather a natural stage in his evolution as a player. His physical qualities and talent are not in doubt, but as several tennis specialists point out, he may need to adjust certain aspects to continue growing. Mental toughness, as he himself admitted, learning to handle difficult moments and remain calm will be key. Planning, it may be necessary to rethink his schedule to avoid accumulated fatigue. Tactical strategy, finding a balance between his creativity on the court and greater control in critical situations. The year 2025 has just begun, and although Djokovic continues to set the standard in major events, Alcaraz has everything to become the dominant player of the next decade. But to do so, he will need to overcome this slump and, as Jim Courier said, learn to win even on his bad days. Sinner considers the Alcaraz-Djokovic rivalry the best in current tennis. World number 1 Jannik Sinner, who qualified for the Australian Open semifinals, considers the rivalry between Spanish player Carlos Alcaraz and Serbian Novak Djokovic as the best in tennis right now. The two clashed in a quarterfinal match yesterday, with the victory going to the Balkan player. The match between Novak and Carlos was incredible. It's hard to see such clashes in the quarterfinals, they should take place in the final or semifinals, he opined. Djokovic acknowledges his trick against Carlos Alcaraz. The Balkan tennis player admitted that he took advantage of the Mercian's doubts to turn around the quarterfinal match at the Australian Open. Carlos Alcaraz knew from the start of this first Grand Slam of the season that Novak Djokovic might cross his path and once again stand in his way, as happened at the Paris 2024 Olympics. And ultimately, this destiny was fulfilled, with the Serb preventing him from fighting for that crown still missing in his trophy collection. But what stung the Mercian most was the way the Balkan player won. After the Spaniard took the first set, Noel gave signs of a possible retirement, but given the final result, many believe it was yet another strategy from Djokovic, something he has done many times before. Alcaraz himself confessed that the plan worked perfectly for his opponent. I think someone who was thinking of retiring in the second set wouldn't have played the way he did. I'm not going into details, but I don't think he was going to retire. Honestly, I felt I was in control of the match and let him get back into it. That was my biggest mistake.
In the second, I should have played a bit better, pushed him more to the limit.
After these statements, the Serb didn't hesitate to respond with the same sincerity and no filters. I tried to use it to my advantage, taking the initiative in exchanges and taking advantage of his doubts. I've also been in that situation where my opponent has issues but keeps playing, and as the match goes on, the opponent feels better. That's when you start to panic. I understand the feeling. I didn't feel good in the second set, but I went for my shots, being more aggressive. I started feeling better as the match progressed, especially at the end of the second set. Honestly, I felt normal. It wasn't a very restrictive injury. I'm sorry for him. I understand it's not comfortable to play against someone you're not sure will retire or not. I felt he was looking more at me than at himself. I got the break, the set, and he was doubting from the baseline, started making more mistakes, and I began playing more freely. Now, to fight for another major and what would be the 100th title of his career, Djokovic will have to overcome the world number 2. I'm super proud to have won in 4 sets. Carlos brings a lot of energy and intensity to the court. Now I face Zverev, someone in great form, and he's fighting for his first Grand Slam. He's a super dangerous opponent on this surface. It's good to have a day in between. I'll do everything I can to recover with my team. Honestly, I'm concerned about these physical problems. I hope to be ready for 5 sets. The harsh blow to Carlos Alcaraz doesn't end there. A former world number 1 asked the Mercian not to win the Australian Open, while a veteran of the Spanish Armada appealed for patience. I'd tattoo a kangaroo, for sure. The only thing I'm missing is lifting the trophy here, but the plan and the idea are already there. Carlos Alcaraz remarked about the tattoo he still needs to complete his collection after having achieved Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and the US Open in previous years, with memories of those triumphs marked on his skin. This year, it won't happen. His loss to Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open 2025 makes this the worst of the 4 majors for him. In fact, his ceiling so far has been reaching the quarterfinals. Regardless of his aspirations and the fact that some have criticized him for openly stating that his goal was to win such titles or make history, Alcaraz has also received advice in recent days suggesting just the opposite. On the one hand, that he shouldn't obsess over winning this tournament. And on the other, someone went even further, saying it would be better not to win it so soon. If he doesn't win it this year, it'll be next year. He has to enjoy himself because he'll do well, advised one of the veterans of the Spanish Armada, Roberto Bautista, at the start of the tournament. The Castellón native, speaking to Eurosport, wanted to clarify that although Alcaraz has won 4 Grand Slam titles at his age, winning one is very difficult, and not only do you have to be the best or play well, but circumstances must also align favorably. A Grand Slam is a combination of circumstances, and you need that bit of luck to lift the trophy, warned Bautista. These words have been recalled now and may serve as consolation for Alcaraz in the future. There's no need to rush to complete the Grand Slam yet. I think he'll have many chances to win here, not just once but several times, added the Levantine player, whose best Grand Slam result was reaching the Wimbledon semifinals in 2019. Mats Wilander wanted Alcaraz to lose, while Bautista called for patience. More surprising was the request from a former world number 1 like Mats Wilander. The Eurosport commentator told Carlos Alcaraz directly that he shouldn't win the Australian Open. Do I think it's important for Alcaraz to complete the Grand Slam? No, I don't. I think it's better if he doesn't. If you can still have reasons to play and reasons to stay motivated, that's a good thing. My reason to keep going was that I never won Wimbledon, said the Swede, who indicated that for Alcaraz, far from being crushed by losing this tournament, it could serve as a catalyst. Whether he listened or not, the reality is that to win in Melbourne, the Spaniard will have to wait another year. For now, he must focus on the upcoming tournaments, which include Rotterdam in 2 weeks, Doha and Dubai, and the 2 North American Masters 1000 tournaments, Indian Wells and Miami, that come before the clay season. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, because here at Tennis Zone, we are dedicated to offering the best content for the best audience. We provide in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and comprehensive coverage of everything related to the world of tennis. Join our community and be part of the excitement of tournaments with us. Additionally, at Tennis Zone, We strive to offer you updated and high-quality content about players, tournaments, strategies, and the most relevant events in the tennis world.